Okay, friends, welcome back to the Abel Speaks podcast. We are going to kind of hit resume and jump back into what is an ongoing conversation with Dr. Kevin Magee. And so if you missed the kickoff to that, you can jump back and catch that episode and then catch up to where we will pick up now, but want to continue to keep these episodes kind of more short and targeted, taking it one question and one thought at a time. And so excited for you to continue to be equipped and encouraged by Dr. Magee now. If you turn the tables, so now not talking to the medical provider, talking to the mom or the dad who just have received their life-limiting diagnosis and are putting the pieces together and just putting one foot in front of the other, what kind of final sentiments would you say to them that are probably similar sentiments that you say to maybe any set of parents that walk into your office for the first time?
I think probably the most important thing, I usually tell them this. I don't know, I don't remember telling you this, but I tell them, someday you're going to forget about me, and that's going to be a beautiful moment. Because you don't need to remember me, but you need to remember one thing. You did not cause this. And that's probably the most important thing. You know, as humans, we tend to want to take blame because it's so much easier to think, oh, it's because I had the car window down, I was riding behind the city bus in Dallas, and it was, this and no, it's not that. It's easier for us to take blame because it's harder for us to think that God would allow something bad to happen to good people. It's hard. So I like to turn it and ask your patients to think of it like this. Maybe not what you did, but who you are. Because we know God knows the children before he creates them. So he knows that a child's going to have a problem. And he knows that, and why that decision's made, I don't know. Someday we'll find out. But maybe he looked at it like this. Okay, this child is going to have trisomy 18. Who can I entrust Abel to? You. Because he knows you. So maybe flip it over and think of it not so much of what I did wrong, but maybe what I did right to be entrusted with this special child.
Yeah. I think that's like one of my favorite things about what we get to do is that we have families connect with us, and they're, all over the spectrum in terms of faith. And even if they are, a lot of our families, are believers. They believe there's a God, but to see God work in their life and sanctify them through the child that he's entrusted to them, and to see them like life transformation really for the parent in terms of how they see themselves, how they see the world, how they see God is like such a gift for us to have a front row seat to that, and just to see the journey that they're on and how the Lord is using their child for good, and we always say, caveat, it's not worth it. It doesn't feel worth it. Or if I was God, Abel would still be here. And all of, those two things hold true. And there's tension with both of that, those two thoughts. But I do think it is, I think that's an interesting way to flip it on its head, of just like, man. And I think some people say that in a little bit different context, but I think to say like, hey, the Lord did entrust this baby to you. And I have a lot of questions for God and, why and all the things. But I do think to come at it from that perspective is hopefully an encouragement to the parents of like, no, you can do this because God ordained it to be so, right?
That's true. My grandmother used to say, too, fun moment, that, Kevin, when you get up there, and I'm sure you'll get there, she would say, you walk through the Pearly gates. Over on the right, it's going to be a FAQ booth, frequently asked questions. And I said, oh, I can imagine, Grandma. Well, Kevin, there'll be no one standing there.
That's right.
Because when you're in his presence.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah. No queue in that booth.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, you're a gift
Oh, thank you, sir.
Thank you
So
Yeah.
are
for the
you all.
camaraderie,
For
for the
being here.
partnership, and just for being so faithful to your calling and encouraging us in ours. And
Well, I wish I
Yeah.
would have known at the moment that you were sitting there writing, that I would know that you were creating this amazing thing. Because it's really, it's fantastic.
that took Kelly, and I got on board eventually. She's the creative.
Well, I
the
think
creative
you
one.
asked earlier, the one of the reasons that I forgot to mention earlier about why I would rescind to Abel Speaks, yeah, you've been through it, but I know you, and I know your heart. And that's, for people who don't know your heart, get ready, because you're going to be blessed.
Oh, that's kind. But I do think what you're saying about Daniel taking notes, it's, and we share this with families too, is like, man, like, those aren't the things that we wanted to learn about our son, but those were the things for us to know him, you know? They're like, okay, this is what the fluid level's at, or his right hand's opening, but his left hand isn't, or, you know, whatever it was like, those were the opportunities, the ultrasounds that you did for us. Those were the opportunities to get to see him and know him for the time that we had. And it was like, we didn't know if we would get time outside of the womb. So for Daniel, it was like, man, I'm going to jot down all the information, because it's like we all want to know our children. And that felt like that was the moment that we got, potentially. And we might not get another one. And so jotting down all the things that we could to know him as well as we could felt like a gift to us. And yeah, was Daniel's way of like participating,
Well, yeah, and you think too, it's Abel's lifetime into a few months. But the reason why that little brown book harmonized so much with me, for some reason, when my daughters were little, I had a little black book, a little tiny black book. And I did not do a good job like you did. I would sit there and write a few things when they would say something funny. I would write it in the book. So when you did that, I thought, wow, okay, now I get it. This dad is compacting in writing his experience with Abel. That was